Okay, so we welcome you all to week 5 of the class of Jawhar to Tawhid, which is translated as the precious jewels of divine oneness. And so alhamdulillah, we'll be beginning. We waited already a few minutes for people to join. So we just start right on time, inshallah. I guess the sister will come back on.
I'm here.
Okay, I don't know what happened. All right.
I don't know. It said I was removed. I said, well, he just kicked me out because I haven't been answering questions.
No, I didn't kick. I don't know what happened, but no, everybody's on.
Assalamu alaikum, to say.
Assalamu alaikum, sweetie.
Wa alaikum salam, everybody.
Okay. Okay, inshallah. So this class is week 5. We left off at line 22. So we'll be covering lines 23 to 25 today, inshallah. And not really a short class, but the way the format is, how the poem and how it's classified. So you'll see as we go along, inshallah. So everyone's doing good?
Yes, alhamdulillah.
Everyone's doing great. Health, wealth, knowledge of self?
Yes.
Yes, alhamdulillah.
All right, alhamdulillah. Okay, so inshallah, we'll get right into it. I never know how to do this thing. Okay. Right there. Okay, let's see. Can you all see that?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so this is week 5.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
So,
All right, so I just want to do a little review, inshallah. So the first question I have, or the example, it says, the angels are an example of faith blank. The prophets, an example of faith blank. And the general folk, an example of faith blank. Anybody?
I know the angel's faith is just a given. Like there's no question about
Okay,
their
well,
faith.
last week we talked about the topic about the subject of Iman and, what is the condition of Iman? Does it increase and decrease and things like that? So when we talk about these categories, there was a certain thing that we said about the angels. They're an example of faith. What? So we talked about faith about Ziyada and Nakis.
So they're I think they're Ziyada and the prophets are Nakis. It's like I always forget. Go ahead.
Okay. So the angels, when they have faith, does it increase or decrease?
It stays the same.
Yes, the angels stay the same. So that's an example of faith remaining the same for the angels. All right, the prophet's faith is an example of faith. What?
Their increases, their faith increases.
No,
Are they the same as the angels, right?
no,
So then it decreases?
no. Prophets can't decrease.
Right. That's why. Wait a minute.
Example of the prophet's faith is that it doesn't decrease.
Okay.
The prophet's faith doesn't decrease. They already had a high level of Iman, so their faith isn't increased, but it doesn't decrease.
Mm-hmm.
All right, yeah, I remember we mentioned that last week.
Yes.
The angels, the examples, their faith does not, it remains the same regardless. And the general folk is an example of faith. What?
That will decrease it, but then Imam Abu Hanifa radiallahu anh had the example of
Yes.
that. If it's there, it's there.
Yeah, we're going to come to that, but
I'm sorry.
our faith does what? So
It
what-
wavers. It like it goes up and down.
it
Or
it but what's the word I'm looking for?
Increase and decrease.
Yeah, our faith in increases and decreases. Okay, good. All right. So now, okay.
Oh, I see.
So what is the correct view of actions as they relate to faith? Oh, before that, we said that faith increases with what, and it decreases with what?
It increases with the observance of religious duties.
Obedience to Allah, yeah.
Right.
And it decreases with what?
I guess with sin.
Yeah. Yeah, with sin and disobedience. So this is the preferred view of all the schools. And so the correct view is that faith, it increases with acts of obedience and decreases with acts of disobedience. All right.
Yeah.
So now, this whole discussion is about Iman, and we have the luxury of knowing all this stuff now, but at this time, these things weren't so well known and they had to be codified. So hence, this is why we have schools of theology and schools of fiqh, right? All right. So what is the correct view of actions as they relate to faith?
Well, it says faith increases as the observance of, well, it's the same thing that Sister Ava said, that they increase as the observance of religious duties of the body increase. The view of the vast majority of Ash'ari, Mutaridi, Maliki, Shafi'i, and notable Hanbali.
Okay, looking at your notes, you're bound to get it right. But
listen, I had to do it. I had to do it today.
Well, but that's actually not what I'm looking for. We were talking about actions as they relate to faith. So there was a discussion we had. So our actions, are they part of
no,
a foundation of faith or what?
No, because faith, your faith is with the realization of Marifa. So it's the realization that Allah exists, or that Allah is one with Tawhid, and that faith exists before the action. And so the action will increase it, but your faith is there already, even before the action has occurred.
Okay. So basically we're saying that actions are not necessary or a requirement for you to have faith.
Yes.
Right? But actions are what?
That's it.
As related to faith.
Perfection of faith.
Huh?
A reflection. Oh, hey, Brother Isa.
Necessary for the perfection of faith.
Yeah, they're necessary for the completion and the perfection of faith, but not necessary for a person to have faith in and of itself. All right. So this is the argument about, our actions, are they a foundation, and what were some of the proofs that we talked about last week? There was a hadith that we mentioned.
The old lady?
No, not that one. It was a hadith about one of the companions who he accepted Islam.
But did he not have? He died during the battle, and he hadn't had any. He hadn't completed any good deeds.
Right. But he was a performer, so that's a proof that a person, if they have faith, that the actions are not necessary for one to have faith, but they are a means of completion. And so we also talked about something that's very important. We talked about all the 5 pillars of Islam at the time that they came. So for instance, what year was the Salat made obligatory?
That was the second year after Hijrah.
Okay. And after Hijrah mean when they went to Medina after being in Mecca for 13 years, right?
Yes.
So that's a sign that, when the obligation to perform the duties in Islam didn't come to much later, but the Sahabas had faith.
Yes.
So that's also another proof. All right. So the correct view is actions are the completion and the perfection of faith, but not a requirement for faith itself. All right. Okay.
Yes.
And now the last thing we review is what is the argument of Imam Abu Hanifa and what does it mean?
That was where he said, radiallahu anh, that it doesn't increase or decrease. You either have it or you don't have it. Paraphrasing.
Okay, and so so if people don't understand this, they think that Imam Abu Hanifa rahimahullah had a different view, but actually they kind of correlate because he's saying that you either have faith or you don't, and yes, it will increase with actions and will decrease with disobedience. But even if you increase and decrease, you're still gonna have the faith, even if you don't do those acts to increase or decrease it. That was his argument. So, and many of the scholars, try to, I can't think of the word, like to put it together. One of the scholars that we mentioned, one of the great scholars of theology, we mentioned that he was one of the ones that, put this together where, don't make Imam Abu Hanifa separate from it, even though he had this view.
That was Fakhruddin al-Razi.
Fakhruddin al-Razi.
Al-Razi.
Okay.
You told us to look for the book that he wrote?
Yes, the homework assignment.
I have one that says Kitab al-Tafsir al-Kabir, and it focuses on al-Fatiha. And then there was another one, Kitab al-Arba'in fi Usul al-Din, the book of 40 tenets of religion.
Yes, alhamdulillah. Did anybody else find anything?
Yeah. Go ahead. You can go first.
No, go ahead, Brother Isa.
In the Reliance of the Traveler, it says, it names that it's a 32 volume tafsir, Mafati al-Ghaib, the keys to the unseen.
Mm-hmm.
That one too.
Yes, mashallah, ahsant. Okay. Sweetie?
Oh, that's what I was going to say with what Isa said. Oh, that's a clue that maybe that's coming. What Isa said, but I was also going to mention that with that tafsir, he only was able to do the tafsir up to Surah Al-Fath. Mm-hmm. He passed away before he could complete it, so Surah number 48. But that was it. It's known as a really, really a good book of tafsir as far as the Quran. And then I got his year that he was born and all that. But yeah, okay. That was about the same thing Isa said.
Okay, what was the year he was born?
I know he died in 6.
It says he was born in I want to say 1150.
Mm-hmm.
And then he died in the year, it says 1209 or 1210.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's current era.
Yeah, and he was also I was just more interested because when I found out that he wrote books of medicine and chemistry and physics, so that was really interesting to know.
Yep.
Mashallah.
Yeah, so Allah put great people in this ummah, mashallah. Okay, so that ends our little review. Let's see. Okay. So line 23, we'll start now. So Imam al-Laqqani, he mentions وَوَاجِبُ لَهُ الْوُجُودُ وَالْكِدَمُ كَذَا بَقَاءُ لَا يُشَابُ بِالْعَدَمِ. Okay, so it says existence and pre-eternality are necessary for him, as well as permanence that is not flawed by non-existence. All right, so this is line 23. All right, so we get into it, inshallah. So line 23, here he starts to begin the discussion about the necessary attributes. So everyone knows about the necessary attributes for Allah?
Yeah.
What's a working definition when we say the necessary attributes?
The absence of them is impossible, and the opposite of them is inconceivable. No, messed it up.
you're showing signs of dyslexia. No, I'm just joking.
Right.
No, but it's the opposite.
Mhm.
Now,
Good.
yeah, that's one. So the absence of them are inconceivable, and the opposite of them are impossible. But I was looking for something else specifically. These attributes we talking about, these necessary attributes. All right, somebody raise a hand.
I didn't mean to hit that. I was trying to hit the unmute. I was just going to say that there's the 13 necessary attributes.
Yes. Yeah, but I'm looking for something. These attributes. Why do they say they're necessary? Because we know Allah has more than 13 attributes.
Because without them, I mean, like you just said, it's inconceivable because it talks about Allah's. I think it's like it sums up his Azawajal, like his Tawhid, and his creator characteristics and qualities.
Okay. So a working definition we used to tell someone about necessary attributes is that these necessary attributes are what define Allah, and they make Allah who he is. Why Allah is unique, why is he one? Why is he all of these things? And why we believe in him as such? Because he is absolutely unlike anything. And these necessary attributes give the definition of that. All right, so the first one he talks about in the line of poetry is al-wujud. And the meaning of al-wujud is existence and not absent, and independent and not attributed to a cause, not caused by anything. And this attribute is the foundation upon which all the other attributes are built. So in these next coming classes, I'm going to do an independent class where we're doing the necessary attributes and their opposites, but he's covering some of them in this class here, or in this poem. All right. So he mentions the first one is al-wujud, which is existence. All right. And so we always understand that the absence of these is inconceivable, and the opposite of them are impossible. So the absence of Allah being existent is inconceivable, that the rational mind cannot think of Allah not existing. And the opposite, which is non-existence, which is called Adam, is impossible for Allah. So there was never a time that Allah didn't exist. All right. All right. Is that clear?
Yes.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. And so then the next attribute that he mentions, one of the necessary attributes, is al-Qidam. And al-Qidam means pre-eternality or existing without a beginning. And so this means that Allah has no beginning to his firstness and no start to his existence. So, if you think about this, we can't even imagine what eternalism or eternality. What's the word? Eternality? Is that the word we can use?
That might be the Ebonic word.
Yeah, eternal or everlasting, or something that's everlasting. We can't really imagine something that, because our rational mind can conceive of things coming to an end, even if we might not be able to live to see it. We know this somehow this stuff's come to an end. So Allah is pre-eternal. You can't even imagine really, in the real sense, pre-eternal.
Mm-hmm.
And so not only does he exist, but he existed before that there was a thing as eternity. All right.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so that's pretty simple enough. And then the next one he mentions al-Baqa, which is permanence or no ending to his existence, and eternal without an ending. Eternal without an ending. All right. So these are the first three attributes of the necessary attributes, with some say 13 and then some 20, but then they have classified in certain ways that we'll get to as we go through the text, inshallah. So the first one he mentions that Allah is al-wujud. He is attributed with existence, and the opposite is impossible. The same with al-Qidam, which means the opposite is to have an ending, and to have a beginning. And Al-Baqa is permanence, and the opposite is to have an ending. All right. So I don't really want to concentrate on the opposites until we're doing a separate class, because the separate class, I want to make sure we get these down, because we should have these kind of memorized. Al-Wujud, Al-Qidam, and Al-Baqa. All right.
Yes.
That Allah has existence. Or you will see as Mawjud, that He exists. Right. Al-Qidam and Al-Baqa. All right. Any questions on that?
No.
No.
Okay. Okay, so now we're going to discuss these categories of existence and non-existence. All right, so something that helps us to understand. All right, so we know that our non-existence has no beginning, but has an ending. All right, and our existence has a beginning and an ending. All right, so there was a time that we were non-existent, and that had no, like, you can't pinpoint a beginning because that was with Allah. But we know that when we come into existence, we have an ending. And once we come into existence, we have a beginning. All right. So that's one category. The second one is the creation, or makhluqat. The makhluqat has a beginning and an ending. So everything that is a creation. So Allah what's the first creation of Allah? We mentioned it last week.
Light.
Huh?
Was it light
Light?
or the pen?
Was it?
The pen. Did somebody say light?
I did
I
say
said the
light,
pen.
and then I said the pen.
Are you reading the Bible or something? What's going on? No, I'm just joking. No, the first creation is the pen. All right, and so then the heavens, the earth, the throne, and so once you really understand these things and how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shows by His manifestation of the creation that He is unlike anything, and that's why we go to great lengths to make sure that we give Him this majesty that's deserving of Him. All right, so we said the creation has a beginning and an ending. All right, so all of those things, even this greatest creation, the throne, has a beginning. Right.
Yes.
And we believe that the throne is Allah's greatest creation. All right. And then the other category is that paradise, Jannah and Jahannam, they have a beginning but no ending. All right. So, because sometimes, people say that, the hellfire won't come to an end, or paradise won't come to an end. Then how does that, how is that different from Allah being, pre-eternal or unlike anything in His creation? Because, well, they had a beginning. The same thing with the other creations. They had a beginning and an ending. Same thing with our creation. Our non-existence has no beginning, but has an ending. And then when we come into existence, we have a beginning and an ending. So we all have a start and stop date, And so that's when you see these categories, it shows how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in creating these things, how He is totally different from them. All right. And so here we have that Allah is not affected by the possibility of non-existence. So not only is the opposite impossible for Him, that the possibility of non-existence is impossible for Him. Like, it's not even a discussion. Did you raise your hand again? Or
Yes. The last statement that paradise and hell have a beginning but no ending. Was there ever an argument that the hellfire would end, or had something about like
yes, I believe that's one of the arguments and one of the criticisms of Ibn Taymiyyah, that he said that the hellfire will come to an end.
Okay.
And so that's one of the things that he was refuted for. We will have to discuss that in a separate one, but this just showing that these things, because we understand them, Allah mentioned in the Quran, Khalidina fiha, that the person entered paradise, they will be in there forever. And then eternity, that's, according to what we know or what we understand, But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has whatever he wills, but he has created these things with a beginning and they have no ending. So that still makes them distinct. Allah is distinct from those kind of things because Allah has no beginning or no ending, right? And he is not affected, as we put here, not affected by the possibility of non-existence. So not only does non-existence not apply to him, the possibility of non-existence doesn't apply. Right? And so hence, this is what makes Allah who he is, why he deserves to be worshipped, why he deserves to be revered, because he is showing us by all of these things, these manifestations, that nothing else can do it. Nothing else can bring something from non-existence into existence. And all of his creation, and you just marvel and wonder over the creation, it all came from non-existence to existence. And the perfect order of it, the heavens, the earth, the sun, the stars, the moon, the perfect design of it came from a state of non-existence into existence. All right, is that clear?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Okay. So, wait, you have something?
Mm-mm.
Oh, I thought somebody said something. Okay. Line 24. So the next line. So this is continuation of the. These are all connected. وَأَنَّهُ لِمَا يَنَالُ الْعَدَمُ مُخَالِفٌ بُرْهَانٌ هَذَا الْكِدَمُ. And he is other than what can be non-existent. All right, so that kind of reinforces what we said in the last line. And the proof for this, in the Burhan, the proof for this is pre-eternality. So the kidam that we mentioned already, so this line is going together. Now remember this, Imam al-Laqqani wrote this as a poem. And so now we just, dissecting and unraveling the poem that he wrote, all right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So now we're talking about another attribute, a necessary attribute of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So how many do we have so far?
3.
What are they?
Al-Wujud, Qadam,
Kidam.
Qidam, sorry, Qidam, and Al-Baqa.
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 So we have Al-Wujud, Al-Kidam, Al-Baqa. Wujud is existence. Al-Kidam is pre-eternal without a beginning. And Al-Baqa is everlasting without an end. Mm-hmm. Or enduring, or whatever, however translation. Baqa comes from like remaining. Mm-hmm. Right? So now we have this next attribute, a necessary attribute that makes Allah who he is. It's al-mukhalafa lil-hawadith. Someone just entered the room. Okay. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome, Mr. Bay. Hello?
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Walaikum salam. What's up, Mr. Bay?
I'm here.
Okay, yeah, alhamdulillah. All right, so the next attribute is that Allah is attributed with al-mukhalafa lil-hawadith, which means that he is dissimilar from the creation. There is no essence like his essence, no attributes like his attributes, no action like his action. Everything in creation is contingent. Is hadith. That word is hadith, not hadith. Hadith. All right. So everything is contingent. So contingent means something that occurs, right? Or something it's an incident. And that everything that is contingent became existence after non-existence. And all contingent things are subject to change, and change is impossible for the one who is pre-eternal. So this is why this is a necessary attribute for Allah, that he is totally dissimilar from the creation. And why? Because all of the things that he does, they're unlike anything in the creation. From his those 3 categories, I have it here in English, but you remember we said in the Arabic that Allah is absolutely one and unique in those 3 categories. Who knows what they are? The Arabic terms.
You said in his sifat, his
His sifat is one, but before that,
That.
his that or his essence, or that means his self. He is absolutely unique in himself. His that, his sifat, his attributes or his descriptions, and his oh, I was about to get
I was gonna say it. Af'at.
af'al.
Af'al. See, I messed up
His
because I was
attributes.
trying to remember.
All right, so in these three categories, Allah is absolutely one, unique, and dissimilar to anything, you know. And he is not subject to change. So when these are by his eternal decree and all of that stuff that we'll get into in a few. So far we have how many attributes? This is the fourth one.
Yes.
So we have wujud, al-qidam, al-baqa, and al-mukhalafa lil-hawadith. All right. Any questions on that?
No.
Okay. All right, we'll go to the next slide. So line 25, he says, the author Imam al-Laqqani, Qiyamuhu bi nafsi wahdaniyah manazzahan awsafuhu saniyah. He says, the necessary for Allah are his self-subsistence and oneness, transcendent are his lofty attributes. All right. I gotta find another recital of the poem, because when you hear it flow, inshallah, you know it's really good. All right. So here he has self-subsistence and oneness, the two attributes that are mentioned here. All right, so the first one is qiyamuhu binafs, which means self-subsistence, and meaning that Allah exists by himself alone and is free from need of anything to support him, and he is independent of everything. All right. So when we get deeper into this text and other texts, and when we talk about Allah, then you see how some of the people have went wrong, and even some of the conversations when we talk about where these things are seemingly problematic for people. No, not seemingly, they are problematic. When you talk about, when Allah istawa al-arsh, or he established himself above the throne, over the throne, or when he's attributed with words in English that have connote, is that a word? A literal meaning. Like, he used the word wedge, face, and hand, which is translated as wedge is translated as face, and yed is translated as hand, and ayn is translated as eye. But when they apply to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it is something unlike anything that the mind can conceive. All right. And so these things start to make sense. Well, for us, who already understand these things in some part, but then there are people who, who make these wrong assumptions of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All right. So qiyamuhu bi nafs is, Allah is free from any kind of need of anything to support him. So he independent of everything. That means time, space, location, and direction. So once we get deep into it, then we understand why some of these things that people wrongly attribute to Allah's majesty, why it should be rejected, because all of these things, time, space, creation, location, direction, all of these are created things, and all created things are hadith. They're contingent, and everything that's contingent is subject to change, and Allah is not subject to change. All right, because of his essence of being pre-eternal. All right, is that clear? Or
That's clear.
Yeah.
okay. So the next attribute that the Imam mentions, Imam al-Laqqani, the author of this book, is wahdaniyah. So absolutely one, unique, And it also means not more than one entity. And it also means that he is not composed of parts. And it also means that he has no partner. He is without any partner in these three categories that we mentioned. And his that, his sifat, and his af'al. All right. So in Allah's essence, he is one unique. So the essence, and then once you see some of these things about his essence, about his oneness, his power, all of those things, and his sifat, some things he attributed with, like some of the attributes that we mentioned, wajh and ayn. When Allah, these words are used with Allah, that they don't mean what people think they mean, And then it's af'al, for instance, the istawa al-arsh, which is, what people say that Allah is above the throne. This is a divine act of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that it can't even be imagined. The closest that we understand is that Allah established himself over the throne, because you'll see the arguments that people make who assume a literal thing for Allah, which is not befitting his majesty, is that they'll say, oh, we only say what Allah says, and Allah says he's above the throne. No, Allah says istawa al-arsh, and that's beyond our pay grade, and this is why the early Salaf, they just said, that's what it means, don't delve into it. This is part of Allah's essence, this is part of who he is and what makes him unique, and because of that, we can't interpret it in the true sense. You can't interpret it in the true sense. All right. And so then he talks about in his line, he talks about tanzih. So tanzih is transcendence or incomparability, or to declare that Allah transcends every quality or attribute possessed by his creatures. So this is what in Aqidah and Ilm Kalam, the Ilm Tawhid, this is we have an obligation to know God. How they say, black people, we know us some God, No, but now as Muslims, you have an obligation to know God and know what you're supposed to know about him, know what is impossible to know about him, and know what's possible for him, and you have to know these in detail. So all of this stuff is connected. All right. And so there's other terms that are connected to this, but not necessary in this text. We talk about tafwid and ta'wil. All right. Anybody know what those terms are? Besides Isa and the two Isas. I don't know how to say Isa, the two Isas.
Is it the literal definition of the attributes of Allah compared to, I don't know how to say it.
To tafwid is to consign the meeting to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
And the other one is the other one where it's left to the scholars to give a possible meaning for.
Yes, it's ta'wil, is to give a suitable interpretation of those attributes. So whenever tafwid is the safest route, and ta'wil is to make sure that something else isn't understood, but the goal of both of those is tanzih. So tanzih is that when we are attributing to Allah complete transcendence and complete incomparability to anything in the creation, right? All right, and so one of the tricks that you see some of the people who misinterpret these things, they'll say that they have a concept that's called tafwid al-ma'na, and then they say that they know the meaning of tafwid, but the howness, they say that they don't know the howness. So for instance, you'll hear people say, that Allah has a hand, but we don't know how it is. So that's way different from saying that Allah is attributed with yad, and what it means for him, we leave it. You see the difference? So in other words, when they say that Allah hands, we affirm a hand for Allah, we just don't know how it is. So they're saying they affirm something that they understand in their mind as an appendage, but then they try to say, you know, it's not like, you know, Laysa kamithlihi shay. No, you don't say that, affirm a literal meaning, then say you don't know how it is. The way of Al-Sunnah is that you affirm the wording, and that whatever it means, you leave it for Allah. Don't even discuss it. And the only time the discussion is ta'wil is to make sure that a literal understanding is not meant. Is that clear?
Clear.
Yes.
Okay.
Crystal.
Okay, mashallah. So he mentions Qiyamuhu bi nafs and Wahdaniyah, and all of these are about Tanzih. So we mentioned the attributes. How many so far?
8.
7.
Yeah, somebody run it down the line.
Oh boy. So
What's the one that without this one, all the other ones, they don't.
Wujud.
Yeah, al-wujud. Okay.
Wujud,
Okay, is existence.
Kidam.
Kidam.
Kidam. I keep saying it wrong. And Baka.
Uh-huh.
Wahdin. Oh, yeah, well, Wahdin. Well, no, it was one before that.
Mukhalifu lil hawadith.
Yeah, al-mukhalafa lil hawadith, which means that Allah is completely dissimilar to hawadith, is plural for huduf or hadith, right? Or he's totally dissimilar to things that occur, right? The things that occur, they have a beginning. All right. The next one. You don't get the next one, something's wrong.
Kiyamu.
Yeah, it's right here on the screen.
Yeah, Kiyamu. Kiyamuhu bi nafs.
Yeah, Qiyamuhu bi nafs. Or subsistence. Okay. And Allah completely free from need of anything to support him and independent of everything. And Wahdaniyah, absolutely one. Sometimes you'll see these in different orders, but the order really don't matter. But all of these are necessary attributes. All right. Is that clear?
Yes.
Okay.
Clear.
So let's go on to the next one. This is, I think this is going to be the last slide. Yeah. So here we have these classification of attributes. So when you study the attributes, the necessary attributes are 13 or 20 in number. And then in those 20 or 13, there's a classification of those attributes. All right. So let's get into that now. So the first one, you should know this term is sifat an-nafsiyah. And this translated as the core or the self-signifying attribute. So, in other words, that the attribute that's classified under this term is that no existence could be known without his existence. And so when we talk about the attributes and these classification, there's only one attribute under this category. I went back. Hold on. I don't know how to go back. All right. So al-wujud, according to the scholars, that the al-wujud is in a class by itself. All right. So it's sifat an-nafsiyah. You know, you hear the word nafsiyah. What word do you hear in there?
Nafs.
Nafs. What is the word of nafs? Anybody know? One of the linguistic meanings?
Desire or lower self.
So
Dire, that's one meaning. But it also means something that's precious.
Mm.
So here, how it relates to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that this attribute is unique and is in a class by itself, So it's called sifat and nafsiyah. So in other words, that Allah has to exist first before anything else can occur. And this covers all of the things because, you know, there are people that don't believe that Allah exists. So Islam is a belief for all times. It's not just for Muslims, you know, because the Prophet Islam was sent with guidance for who?
All of mankind.
All of mankind. So if all of mankind is going to be judged by the coming of the last prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then all of this stuff has to be clear for everybody, even if they don't accept Islam, you know. So they can't have any excuse before Allah because these things are detailed. So, you know, we can bang with the best of them as far as intellect and theology and all of those things, you know. All right, so al-wujud is by itself. And then you have the second category, what's called sifat al-salbiyah, or the negating attributes, or the attributes that negate imperfection from Allah or anything that's unbefitting His majesty. All right, so these, in the category of the sifat al-salbiyah is these ones we all mentioned. Al-qidam, al-baqa, al-mukhalafa lil-hawadith, al-qiyam bi-nafs, and wahdaniyah. So it's 5 attributes that are sifat al-salbiyah and 1 attribute that's sifat al-nafsiyah. Then there's another category that we're going to cover, but it's not going to be in this class. This is the kind of the end of the that was the end of it. Did I click that off too soon?
Yes, you did.
Okay, well, we can review it real quick. So we mentioned the 5 attributes that we mentioned, besides al-wujud, which is by itself, they're sifat as-salbiyah, right? That means that they are the negating attributes, and what it means negating attributes, that they negate from Allah any perfection. So they are al-qidam, al-baqa, al-mukhalafa lil-hawadith, qiyamu bi-nafs, and wahdaniyah. And then the 1 attribute, the self-signifying attribute, is the sifat an-nafsiyah, which is al-wujud. Now we're going to cover these in detail, but I'm just covering them as we go along. But in the separate class, as I mentioned, we're going to cover the necessary attributes and their opposites. All right, because I wanted, you know, because we had some of this when we did the Risalah to Jamia, right? And we covered some of the necessary attributes. But I want to have one course where we cover the necessary attributes and their opposites, and we know them by memory. All right. So I want to isolate that, you know. So, all right. So that's the end of the class. So then we'll finish up with starting from line 26 next week, inshallah. Are there any questions about what we covered today, or any discussions?
No.
Any concerns? Any criticisms?
No.
Okay. All right. Was it pretty clear, or we?
No, it's clear.
Okay.
Clear.
All right. So inshallah, next week we'll do a review, and then we'll continue with the other part, which is
I
the
do have a quick question.
yeah. Go ahead.
Are we going to have a test before Ramadan, or do we decide and then we'll stop and then pick back up? Or
Yeah, I think that's where we'll go. We'll go all the way to Ramadan. Try to get as many classes in as possible. You know, hoping I don't have to like cancel any because of scheduling. So far, I'm on course to you know, go every week until Ramadan, and then maybe the week before Ramadan, like the 2 weeks before, we'll do one review, but I'll let you know what's on the test, and then we'll do the test the week after that, and then we'll resume for wherever we stop there. Does that sound like a plan?
Yes.
Okay.
Are we gonna do something for with the Risala with Ramadan, or no?
What do we do with the Risala?
Remember you said you were gonna do like just kind of
Oh
going.
yeah, I'm just a Ramadan course. We're gonna do it intensive. We might go live with it, but I gotta kind of do that for my community. Maybe we will stream it. You know, what did we say yesterday, Brother Issa? Mr. Bay.
Fahima, you got the
Yeah.
notes?
Yeah. Sister Fahima, you there? Hello, Earth to Sister Fahima.
Issa might have it though.
Okay. Well,
you said-
anyway, we decided, I think we're going to do a weekend intensive because I was thinking about spreading it out over 3 weeks until Ramadan, but we're going to do like a weekend intensive. So just covering it, and we'll probably stream it. We'll definitely record it. So inshallah. But that's you know, for our really our local folks, you know, but not to exclude anybody. So we'll probably end up streaming it. So yeah, that's what we're gonna do. And then we'll do this. We'll continue this class after Ramadan, and maybe something during Ramadan. I don't know. I mean, this kind of I'll be super busy, and all of you as well. But maybe we should just kind of focus on the fast and just do, you know, focus on the Quran, Tahajjud, stuff like that. You know. All right, sounds like a plan.
Yes.
All right, SLAP. Slap. Okay. All right. I know that went over some of y'all heads, so, or maybe it was just corny. It don't matter.
Second,
Yeah, I'll take it on the floor.
it was the second one.
Huh?
The second part.
You said it was second, sis.
Huh?
I said you said it was the second, sissy.
Yeah.
It was white.
You called it corny because it went over your head, but I'll take it, you know. Alhamdulillah. All right, so if there's no other questions or anything, we'll finish there for today, inshallah, and then we'll conclude next week.
So I just have a quick question because I just started taking the classes. I joined last week and I was today, but the slides, do you send the slides, or is there any way for us to have access to the slides?
No, the slides are upon completion.
Okay, all right.
Now, but I do, you know, we record these though, so
No,
Oh,
Sophia,
okay.
they're on YouTube. Don't worry.
yeah. If you go to our
Oh,
YouTube
okay.
page, we record it, so all of the classes you can go back and check them out.
Oh,
But,
okay. Alhamdulillah.
once people complete the class, then I release the slides for them to use, and hopefully the goal is that you'll be able, if you got something from this class, you can tweak it and maybe teach it to somebody else. You know, because you have, you know, and not in the form of, you know, you having permission from me. I'm just giving you the basics, you know, and then when you revisit this book again with someone, you know, way more qualified than me, then you'll have a working knowledge of the book to help you excel. So that's where I'm at. You know, as you all remember in the first or second class, I put up my my little certificate where it showed that I completed this course, but I'm not in any way saying that I have permission to teach this course. I just take my permission as far as ijazah. I'm just taking what I learned in my notes and just, you know, giving a service to my people. All right. So don't nobody, you know, go around and be like, oh yeah, I'm learning with Imam Fahim. No, we just going over the book together. You gotta go learn from qualified people, you know. So all right, because don't make me out to be nobody other than what I am, an ex-con trying to get the Jannah. All right, that's my claim to fame. So,
Alhamdulillah.
yeah, so inshallah, so we'll resume next week. So there are no other questions. We'll end the class. Rabbana taqabbal minna innaka anta sami'u alim. Oh Allah, accept this from us. You are the hearing and the all-knowing. Oh Allah, forgive us for any mistakes. Forgive us for our shortcomings and increase us in knowledge and righteous actions. Ameen. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Wassalamu alaikum.
Wa
Alaikum assalam.
Salam.